Today we're going to share a story with you. Not really analyze it, but just lay out the events as they happened.
Yeah.
It's a narrative that is, well, captivating, definitely frightening, exciting in a grim way, and just incredibly suspenseful.
We want to set the right tone here, one that fits the seriousness of what we're talking about. So I'll be guiding you through the main story. And I'm joined by someone. I'll jump in occasionally, maybe add a bit of context, clarify things subtly, nothing over the top.
Right, the story itself is powerful enough.
Exactly. It centers on the disappearance of 8-year-old Maddy Clifton. This was in Jacksonville, Florida, back in November 1998. If you were in Florida then, you probably remember this case. It became huge, really gripped everyone.
Absolutely. A real chilling mystery.
And the ending, well, it's something many people found, and still find, just unbelievable. So, like I said, I'll mostly be telling the story.
And I'll chime in with some background details, maybe illuminate certain points as we go. Okay. Let's start with Maddy Clifton herself. She was 8 years old. Her parents were Steve and Sheila. And she had an older sister, Jessie, who was 10. They were very close, the two girls. People describe Maddy as just a bright, cheerful kid, full of energy, loved to dance, had a great imagination. She played piano 20 minutes every day.
Disciplined.
Yeah, and apparently quite athletic, good at soccer, hockey, just a talented kid. Now, the day everything changed was November 3rd, 1998. Maddy got home from school, did her piano practice like usual. Then she asked her parents if she could go outside and play.
Pretty standard stuff for an 8-year-old.
Exactly. And Steve and Sheila, they said yes, of course.
Yeah.
So Maddy went out. First, she tried finding her usual friends, but nobody was around to play. Eventually, she ended up joining some other kids from the neighborhood playing golf. Not her best friends, just other kids nearby.
Right, just neighborhood kids.
After a bit, they ran out of golf balls. So Maddy said, okay, I'll run home and get some more. Promised she'd be right back. But time went by. She didn't return. The other kids kind of figured, well, it must be getting close to the dinner time. She wasn't coming back. So they all went home. Back at the Clifton house, Steve and Sheila started to get worried. It was almost 6 p.m. and still no Maddy.
Yeah, that's definitely getting late for an 8-year-old to be out.
So they asked Jessie, the older sister, to hop on her bike and go look for her. Jessie rode around, calling Maddy's name. Nothing. No sign of her anywhere. She went back home, obviously really worried now, and told her parents she couldn't find her. Steve and Sheila didn't waste any time. They called the police immediately, and what followed was this massive search. Police, neighbors, eventually something like 1,000 volunteers over the next 2 days.
A huge community response.
Huge. But despite scouring the area, they found nothing. No clues at all. So the police investigation kicks into gear. They start interviewing everyone in the neighborhood. It was a close-knit community. Several people remembered seeing Maddy playing golf with the other kids, maybe for about half an hour before she disappeared.
But after that point, nobody saw her.
Right. And that's what puzzled the investigators early on.
Yeah, I mean, how does an 8-year-old just vanish in broad daylight in her own neighborhood where people know each other without anyone seeing a stranger or anything weird?
They think.
It makes you think it might be someone not strange, someone familiar, someone from right there in the community.
As they started looking into people nearby, one name came up, Larry Cristal. He was 45, lived just 3 houses down from the Cliftons.
Okay.
And it turned out he had a prior charge for sexual assault. This was like 15, maybe 20 years earlier.
Wow. But was he convicted?
No, he was actually acquitted.
Yeah.
They said there wasn't enough evidence back then. But alarmingly, Larry had been seen with the kids, including Maddy, on the day she went missing. When the police talked to him, he just said, yeah, Maddy went home for golf balls and didn't come back. Same story. They gave him a polygraph test, a lie detector. The results indicated deception. He seemed to be lying, but he denied everything. They searched his house, found nothing connecting him to Maddy.
Right. And polygraphs, they're tricky. They can point towards suspicion, but they aren't hard proof in court.
Exactly. So, without any other real evidence linking him directly, eventually the police had to clear him as an active suspect. They couldn't hold him.
Still a concerning background, though, given the circumstances.
Definitely. So the investigation goes on. They find out more about Maddy going home for those golf balls. Turns out she didn't walk back alone. A boy named Joseph went with her.
Okay, a witness.
Yeah. Joseph told the police he waited downstairs at the Cliftons' house while Maddy ran upstairs to find the balls. But she took a long time. He waited, and eventually he just left. Figured she'd catch up later. Meanwhile, back inside the house, Jessie, Maddy's sister, was practicing piano downstairs. She remembered hearing Maddy upstairs, like rummaging around looking for something.
So she definitely made it back inside her house.
Yes. And then, shortly after Jessie heard her, Maddy must have left the house again. Because after that, she vanished. And it's important to remember her house was only a few doors down from where the kids were playing. A very short distance.
Seems impossible she could just disappear in that short space.
With no leads, and the situation looking increasingly serious, the FBI got involved. They brought in their resources, and there was this real fear. What if the person responsible was still around? What if they might target Jessie next?
A terrible thought for the family.
So the police actually stationed 2 officers at the Clifton home, 24/7, for protection.
You know, the sad reality in these cases, the first few hours are crucial. Statistically, the odds of finding a missing child safe drop dramatically after about 6 hours.
Yeah, it's grim. But the Cliftons, understandably, they never gave up hope. They had to believe she was okay.
Of course.
As days turned into nearly a week, the police had to broaden the search. They started looking in wooded areas, creeks, rivers.
They were considering the worst case scenario.
Right, that maybe she wasn't alive anymore. But even searching those tougher areas, still nothing. No trace of Maddy. The Cliftons were desperate. They put up a $5,000 reward, then doubled it to $10,000. They were putting up posters everywhere, all over Florida, going on TV, pleading for help.
The case got a lot of media attention.
It really did. But still, no solid leads. The FBI, everyone, they were frustrated. And then, almost a week after Maddy disappeared, something changed. Horrifically. It involved the Phillips family, Steve and Melissa, and their 14-year-old son, Jared. They lived right across the street from the Cliftons.
Directly opposite.
Directly opposite. And initially, the families were friendly. The Phillipses had been involved in the search right from the start. Jared, the son, had even helped print out a lot of the missing posters.
Wow. Okay.
It was Melissa Phillips, Jared's mother, who made the discovery. She noticed this awful smell coming from Jared's bedroom.
Oh, no.
At first, she thought maybe it was his pet birds. He had bird cages in his room.
Trying to find a rational explanation.
Yeah. But the smell got stronger, and it seemed to be coming from near his waterbed. She looked closer, saw this big patch of tape on the waterbed mattress. That seemed weird. Then she found a sock stuffed into a gap in the bed frame.
This sounds bad.
She grabbed the flashlight, peered into the space under the waterbed frame, and she saw Maddy Clifton's body hidden underneath.
Oh my God. Her own son's room.
Can you imagine? Total shock, panic. She immediately called her husband, Steve. Then she ran straight across the street to the Clifton house, where those 2 police officers were still stationed, told them what she'd found. The officers rushed over to the Phillips house, confirmed it. Maddy's body was there, under Jared's waterbed.
Devastating. Absolutely devastating for the Cliftons. To know she was right there, across the street, the whole time.
And the people helping them search? The betrayal must have been unimaginable.
Unbearable.
The police immediately secured the room as a crime scene. Forensics went through everything. They found a baseball bat with blood on it.
Okay.
A knife, like from a pencil sharpener, hidden under the TV. Lots of air fresheners, trying to cover the smell, obviously. And one of Jared's shoes had Maddy's blood on it.
Direct physical evidence.
And there was more. Blood spatter, matching Maddy's, on the ceiling fan blades, on the walls.
Indicating a violent struggle or attack right there in the room.
Yes. And then,
yeah,
maybe the creepiest thing. They found a photo of Jessie Clifton, Maddy's older sister. Yeah. Taped to Jared's headboard. It suggested this really disturbing obsession, maybe.
Where did he get the photo?
That's the thing. It was later confirmed the picture had been stolen from the Cliftons' house sometime before Maddy disappeared. When the police talked to the Cliftons about Jared, Steve and Sheila said they'd actually had problems with him before.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't like him. Said he behaved inappropriately towards both girls, made lewd comments. They'd actually forbidden Maddy and Jessie from playing with him, and they told Jared himself to stay away.
So they knew he was trouble.
They had a bad feeling. And it turns out after Steve Clifton told Jared to stay away, weird things happened at their house. A window got broken. Someone shot BB gun pellets at their furniture.
And they suspected Jared.
Well, they strongly suspected him. And then Jessie's photo went missing from inside their house. The same photo found on Jared's headboard.
This all starts to paint a picture.
So who was Jared Phillips? Born March 17th, 1984. That made him 14 at the time. Only child. Seemed like a pretty normal kid on the surface. Average grades, friends, no record of violence, nothing obvious.
Which makes it even more chilling in a way.
When the police brought him in for questioning, his initial behavior was described as strangely calm, almost innocent seeming.
Hard to reconcile with finding a body under his bed.
Definitely. But as they questioned him, he eventually confessed. He said Maddy came to his door that afternoon, wanted to play. He first said he couldn't because his parents weren't home. But later, he saw her coming back from her house.
After getting the golf balls, presumably. Or trying to.
Right. And then, he said, he invited her into his backyard to play baseball. His story was, he claimed it was an accident. That while playing baseball, he hit her in the face with the ball.
Hit her in the face?
Yeah. Said she started crying, bleeding. He panicked, carried her up to his room. He claimed she kept crying in his room. He got scared about his parents finding out, and scared of the Cliftons being angry because they weren't supposed to be together.
So what did he say she did?
He admitted hitting her on the head. Twice. With the baseball bat. Until she was unconscious. Then he hit her under the waterbed.
Okay, but the autopsy, that tells a different story, right?
A vastly different story. His accident confession didn't match the evidence at all.
The autopsy found ligature marks from a cord.
Exactly. Electrical cord marks on her neck and multiple stab wounds. That wasn't part of his story.
No, that points to something much more deliberate, much more brutal.
So investigators put together what they think really happened based on the evidence. They believe Jared first tried to strangle Maddy with a cord, didn't succeed in killing her. Then he hit her with the baseball bat until she passed out and hit her under the bed.
But she was still alive then?
Tragically, yes. The evidence suggests she was still alive under there. Maybe tried to call for help, muffled cries. Jared later admitted he heard her making sounds, but ignored them until she went silent.
Oh, that's horrific.
After she was silent, he dragged her body back out, took that pencil sharpener knife, and stabbed her 11 times, including in the neck, to make sure she was dead.
Just brutal calculation.
Then hid her body under the bed again and lived with her there for 7 days.
While helping look for her.
And remember how her body was found? Shirt pulled up, pants and underwear removed.
Right. Which raised the question of sexual assault.
It did.
Yeah.
During the investigation, police checked his computer, found a lot of pornography.
Including
child pornography.
Yeah.
And they found he'd viewed it both before and after he killed Maddy.
That's incredibly disturbing contact.
He denied sexually assaulting her. Consistently denied it.
But the evidence, it seems to contradict that, doesn't it? Her clothes being removed, found deep inside the bed frame, that seems deliberate, and her socks were still on. Plus, the stab wounds to her torso didn't go through the shirt that was pulled up around her neck, suggesting the shirt was already up before the stabbing.
It points towards something happening before she was killed, or as part of the killing. Jared apparently told police he had no real plan for the body. Just let it decompose under his bed, use air fresheners, claimed he could just compartmentalize, put it out of his mind.
Hard to believe anyone could do that.
The Cliftons, though, they never bought the accident story. Not for a second. They were adamant. If she'd been hit with a baseball outside, someone would have heard her cry out. They would have heard something.
That makes sense.
Their theory was that Jared intentionally lured her into his house to harm her, to kill her.
And their reasoning.
Well, first, Maddy was obedient. She knew she wasn't supposed to go near Jared. It seemed unlikely she'd just go play baseball with him willingly.
Right, her parents had warned her.
Also playing baseball in his backyard. Apparently it was small, weedy, not really practical, and crucially...
no dirt or grass on her body.
Exactly. If she'd been playing outside, you'd expect some sign of it on her clothes or body. There wasn't. So, the Cliftons' belief was, Maddy went looking for golf balls, couldn't find hers, maybe remembered Jared had some. She innocently asked to borrow one.
And he saw an opportunity.
They think he lured her inside, pretending to get a ball. Once she was inside, he attacked her, tried to sexually assault her. When she fought back, he killed her with a bat to silence her.
And that theory, it lines up with a lot of the evidence, doesn't it?
It does. The child pornography viewed beforehand. The motive to lure her inside rather than play outside. The state of her clothes. Viewing of porn after the murder. It fits a darker pattern.
A truly horrifying scenario.
Whichever version is closer to the exact truth, the fact remains. Jared Phillips murdered Maddy Clifton. Brutally. And he tried to cover it up. Even pretending to help the family search while knowing she was dead in his room.
Just pure evil.
Jared Phillips was tried as an adult, found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without any possibility of parole.
Selecting the jury must have been intense, given how well-known the case was.
Absolutely. They needed to ensure impartiality.
And the decision to try him as an adult, that was significant. He was only 14.
It was debated, but the evidence of planning, the brutality, the lack of remorse, it swayed the decision.
If he'd been, say, 17 or 18, the death penalty would likely have been on the table.
Very likely. Psych evaluations tried to figure out his motive. Some suggested jealousy towards Jesse. Jared himself blamed violence in his own home, said his father was an alcoholic, aggressive.
Did the father confirm that?
No, the father denied those claims completely. Interestingly, reports from prison suggest Jared changed significantly over the years.
Oh.
Became a model inmate, apparently, studied Buddhism, got therapy, even worked as a legal assistant helping other inmates.
Rehabilitation.
Well, in 2008, 10 years after the murder, he wrote a letter of apology to the Cliftons, expressing remorse.
How did they react?
Steve and Sheila mostly rejected it, understandably. But Jesse, who was 21 by then, actually considered meeting him.
Really? Did it happen?
No. Apparently, Jared's new legal team advised against it and was called off.
There's also a therapist who worked with him, right? Who believed his remorse was genuine.
Yes. Reportedly believed he had genuinely changed. But, that doesn't change what happened or the family's loss.
No, of course not.
He filed appeals later, arguing life without parole was too harsh for a 14-year-old. But those appeals failed. And that's the story of Maddy Clifton. A truly tragic, deeply disturbing case. So we'd really like to hear what you think, your reactions to this story. It's a tough one. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. It's been a little while since our last story, and we do read your feedback.
We appreciate it.
And thank you, especially to our loyal listeners for sticking with us. Your support means a lot. Just a quick reminder, everything we've shared is based on public information, news articles, court documents, online reports, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we do our best to be accurate, but if we missed something or got a detail slightly wrong, we apologize. It wasn't intentional.
And if you happen to have more information or a different perspective on the case, please do share it.
Sometimes hearing different viewpoints helps build a fuller picture.
Definitely. And if you're new here and you found this story compelling, maybe consider hitting that like button, sharing it with someone else who might be interested, and subscribing to the channel. Horror Docs would be great. We plan to share more stories like this.
We appreciate the support.
Okay. Thank you again for spending this time with us. We wish you all the best.
Take care.
And we'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.